Valari had always been a peaceful race, known across the stars for their wisdom, art, and gentle ways. They lived on shining worlds filled with blue forests, crystal lakes, and cities that floated in the sky. Their history held no stories of war, no weapons beyond farming tools, and no desire for conquest. But peace is a fragile thing in a galaxy full of greed and monsters. One dark cycle, without warning, the Grask appeared brutal, armored creatures that thrived on destruction. They tore through Valari colonies like a wildfire, laughing as they turned beauty into ashes. The Valari had no defense, no hope of fighting back. Their ships were meant for travel, not war. Their people were scholars and singers, not soldiers. With each passing day, a new world fell, and the stars around them grew darker. In a final act of desperation, the Valari gathered their remaining strength and sent a message into the void. A silent cry, a plea not for mercy, but for help. The message carried images of the destruction, coordinates of the last surviving systems, and a voice, trembling but firm, saying, "If anyone can hear us, ... please." The message traveled across the stars, crossing nebulae, black holes, and forgotten empires. Most ignored it. Some feared it. One world answered, a planet marked on ancient star charts only with warnings in red borders. Earth, known to old civilizations as a Deathworld, a place so dangerous even nature tried to kill its own people. Earth was no longer part of the galactic community. It had vanished from most networks, disappeared from alliances, and buried its past in silence. But now, Earth had heard the call. 3 weeks after the Valari message was sent, something strange entered their space. A ship not like the sleek, silver cruisers of the galaxy, but dark, jagged, and massive. It moved without broadcasting signals. It didn't respond to hails. It simply drifted closer until it arrived at the Valari's main space station, orbiting their final planet. The Valar gathered nervously, unsure if they had invited another nightmare. But then the ship stopped. A single word flashed across all communication screens. Received. Moments later, a small shuttle departed from the human warship. It was silent, gray, and shaped like a predator. It docked smoothly, and its doors hissed open. From the shadows stepped a figure tall, armored, not in silver, but in matte black, with eyes hidden behind a smooth visor. His voice was flat, almost emotionless, but every word held weight. "I am Commander Hale. Earth received your signal." The Valari leaders struggled to find words. They expected diplomacy, questions, promises. Instead, Commander Hale handed over a device filled with battle plans, defense formations, and training modules. "This is your only chance," he said. "We do not come to negotiate. We come to prepare you." Confusion filled the air. The Valari had asked for help, but they didn't expect this kind of help, fast, harsh, and without kindness. But as the humans began to unload their gear, set up command centers, and scan the Valari systems, something became clear. These were not ordinary allies. They had seen war, lived through it, and brought its tools with them. Their weapons hummed with quiet power, and their ships looked like ancient beasts. Commander Hale walked through the station with calm steps, observing everything, noting every weak point, and assigning jobs without asking. He didn't promise to win the war. He simply said, "We don't lose." Valari began to understand. Earth had heard their crying now. The Deathworld was awakening. The Valari had never seen anything like the humans. After Commander Hale's brief arrival, more of his kind followed, moving in silence, always in formation, wearing black and gray suits that looked built for survival rather than comfort. Didn't talk much, but when they did, every word seemed final. The Valari were used to kindness, long meetings, soft voices, and careful choices. But the humans were direct. Their technology wasn't shiny or elegant. It was brutal, heavy, and built for war. Their machines groaned like beasts. Their drones flew like hawks, and their tools sparked fire wherever they worked. The humans didn't decorate their ships. They named them things like Judgment, Vengeance, and Ashmaker. The Valari engineers, who had once shaped buildings like floating petals, now watched in quiet awe as humans rebuilt old docking bays into launch sites. Giant metal cranes were installed, force shields tightened, and every corner fortified. There was no doubt, Earth didn't come to comfort. They came to win. Commander Hale rarely rested. He moved from chamber to chamber with eyes that saw more than anyone knew. He listened, measured, and acted. He ordered the training of Valari pilots, selected by reflex tests and pressure scans. Many were afraid, but none dared to question his authority. Yet the humans treated war like a science. They showed the Valari how to fly attack patterns, how to use shields as weapons, and how to fight without mercy. "You asked for help," Hale said one night during a briefing. "This is what help looks like." One young Valari, barely out of university, asked why Earth was helping at all. Hay looked at him for a long time before answering, "Because once, no one helped us." That silence said more than any speech. The humans didn't ask for thanks or praise. They didn't try to explain themselves. But slowly, the Valari began to change. Their fear turned into curiosity. Then it turned into courage. The young pilots started training harder. Engineers stayed up late, studying human schematics. Artists began painting their ships with war colors. They were still the Valari, but Earth's fire was spreading among them. Then came the test. A Grask scout ship entered orbit, searching for survivors. Before, the Valari would have hidden. But this time, a small fighter squadron launched. 2 Valari ships, piloted by trainees, followed a human strike leader. The battle lasted 5 minutes. The Grask scout was destroyed. For the first time, a Valari ship had drawn blood. Cheers erupted on the station, but Commander Hale didn't smile. He simply said, "Now they'll know you're not helpless." And he was right. The next day, multiple Grask warships began to change course heading, straight for the Valari system. The humans weren't surprised. They seemed to expect it. Hale ordered defenses tightened, ships prepared, and evacuation protocols uploaded. But no one ran. The Valari were ready to stand. Kea, the Grask, had no idea what waited for them. Tia, they thought they would find a dying race, weak and afraid. They would find a fleet born from Earth, the Deathworld, that had turned pain into power. And now the galaxy would watch what happened when humans made contact. The days that followed were filled with fire, noise, and change. The Valari home system, once quiet and full of beauty, now echoed with the sound of engines, drills, and weapons. Charging. Human warships arrived in waves, some old and scratched, others new and heavy with armor. These were not showpieces. They were survivors of past wars. The ships bore scars, but still moved with strength and purpose. Cage weapons. Far beyond what the Valari had ever seen, mass drivers, plasma cannons, and drones that could swarm like angry insects. The Valari, who had once written poetry about stars, now stood on steel decks, learning how to hold rifles and fly fighters. Commander Hale ran the entire operation with calm precision. He didn't shout, didn't waste time. He simply gave orders, and everyone moved. Valari architects became shipwrights, using human blueprints to reshape their peaceful cruisers into armored warships. Gardens were cleared to build launch pads. Libraries were sealed to hide supplies. Culture was not forgotten, but survival came first. Every training session pushed the Valari further. They learned to fight in zero gravity, how to breathe in combat, suits, and how to think like predators. The humans taught them without holding back. They drilled them with pressure simulations, attack patterns, and harsh lessons in tactics. A mistake in training was met with firm correction, never insult. Hale made it clear there was no room for pride or fear, only readiness. War doesn't wait, he said during one session. You either survive it or you don't. As weeks passed, the Valari began to harden. One young pilot named Syrian became the first Valari to lead a mixed squadron in a full combat simulation. Her ship bore human upgrades, thicker armor, better shields, and a targeting system that tracked movement like a hunter. She led her team through an asteroid field where automated drones attacked from all sides. Syrian didn't flinch. She used her instincts, mixed with human strategy, and brought her team back without a scratch. Commander Hale watched silently, then nodded once. Dad's small gesture meant more than a medal. Meanwhile, the human engineers worked around the clock. They built railguns on orbiting moons, fitted space stations with shield arrays, and mined nearby asteroids for raw materials. Even the sun was used, with satellites placed in orbit to power long-range weapons. So Valari began to realize something important. Humans didn't fight to impress, they fought to win. Their actions were focused, fast, and full of hidden strength. But something deeper was changing too. The Valari had always seen themselves as fragile. They stood beside soldiers from a world where everything was deadly storms, beasts, even the air at times. And yet, humans had survived it all. More than that, they had mastered it. That spirit began to burn inside the Valari. They stopped calling themselves weak. They stopped fearing the grass. Instead, they prepared for them. The final moment of transformation came when the ship Ashmaker arrived. It was one of Earth's oldest warships, Darkcast Space itself, covered in burn marks and battle dents. Its engines were louder, its weapons more brutal, and its captain, a tall woman named Sora, carried the ear of someone who had seen entire worlds burn. She addressed the Valari Council, not with charm, but with fire. You called Earth, she said. So now you stand with Earth. That means you fight like us. No mercy, no surrender. The Valari didn't flinch. They nodded. They were ready. That night, under the stars, a ceremony was held, not one of peace or songs, but of unity. Human and Valari soldiers stood side by side as the first Valari built warship rose into orbit, shaped by Earth's design, but born from Valari hands. Its name was simple, Revenant, and it carried the hopes of both races. The humans saluted it. The Valari cheered. From that day, no one saw the Valari as helpless. They were no longer just survivors. They were warriors, born in fire, and now forged for war. The alarm lights turned red across the Valari command station as sensors picked up incoming ship's Grask vessels, large and fast, heading straight for the system. There was no doubt about their intent. They came not to threaten, but to destroy. Commander Hale stood in front of the tactical display, his eyes cold and sharp. Round him, human officers worked in silence, feeding data, calculating enemy positions, and preparing for the clash. On the other side of the room, Valari commanders, now dressed in combat gear instead of ceremonial robes, watched with tension in their eyes. This would be their first real battle. No more simulations, no more practice drills. Outside the station, the newly built Valari fleet took position alongside Earth's warships that had dark hulls, glowing weapon ports, and engines that burned blue with quiet fury. Ships like Wrath, Endbringer, and Revenant lead the front. The Valari warships, smaller but fast, were armed with human weapons and new armor. Saren, now a squadron leader, sat in her fighter, her hands tight around the controls, her breathing steady. She had trained for this. They all had, but no one knew how it would truly feel until it began. The Grask fleet entered range. and opened fire immediately. Bright red beams cut across space, followed by volleys of heavy torpedoes. But the humans were ready. Earth's warships shifted formation in perfect coordination, forming a shield wall that absorbed the first barrage. Then they returned fire. Missiles launched from hidden ports, railguns fired sonic bursts, and drones swarmed ahead like a black storm. The sky lit up with fire. The Valari ships moved next, not hesitating, following their human allies into the chaos. Sauron's squadron dived between enemy cruisers, dropping magnetic bombs and pulling back before counterfire could hit. She gave orders with calm precision, striking fast, disappearing faster. The Grask were surprised. They expected an easy slaughter, not a coordinated counterattack. Their formation broke slightly as human tactics confused them. Commander Hell saw it instantly. "Press the left flank," he ordered. Now, the ship Ashmaker roared forward, targeting a Grask command ship. With one well-placed strike, its engines exploded, sending debris spinning. The Grask screamed across comms, trying to regroup. Earth's strategy was simple and brutal. Hit hard, hit fast, leave no time to breathe. Valari gunners scored their first kills, and their confidence grew. On the ground, defense cannons activated around the last Valari cities. Human soldiers waited inside bunkers, ready for any landing force. But the Grask never reached the ground. Their dropships were hunted down by Earth's interceptors before they entered the atmosphere. Sauron's fighter took damage. Her right wing was hit, and alarms flashed across her screen, but she stayed focused, guiding her squadron through a narrow asteroid belt and using the rocks for cover. She lured to Grask's ships inside, then detonated. Charges hidden in the belt. Both ships were destroyed. Her squad mates cheered over comms. Commander Hale heard the report and gave a rare smile. "Good," he said. "Show them what happens when they wake a Deathworld." The battle raged for hours. Slowly, the tide turned. The Grask, though larger in number, lacked the discipline and unity that the human Valari alliance had built. One by one, their ships began to fall back. Earth's warships didn't chase immediately. They held formation, waiting to see if it was a trick. It wasn't. The Grask were retreating. For the first time in history, the Valari had stood in battle, and not only survived, but won. When the last enemy ship vanished into warp space, the command station fell silent. Then a soft cheer rose, then another, till the entire station echoed with cries of victory. Saren returned to the hangar, her ship battered, but flying. She climbed out, greeted by her squadron with proud smiles and shaky laughs. Many had feared they wouldn't return. Commander Hale stepped into the hangar and looked at them. "You did well," he said. But this was only the beginning. The celebration paused. Everyone remembered. The Grask would come again, stronger, angrier. But this time they had seen Earth's fire. They had tasted a fleet born of a Deathworld. And they had learned that the Valari were no longer alone. The victory in the Valari system did not bring peace, it brought war. News of the Grask defeat spread across nearby sectors like a storm, carried in broken signals and whispers from trading vessels. Many did not believe it at first. Valari had no history of warfare, and Earth had been silent for so long that most thought it was dead. But when survivors from the Grask fleet limped back to their empire with torn ships and haunted faces, the galaxy finally understood something powerful had awakened. The Grask were furious. They had never been challenged by a peaceful world, let alone humiliated in open battle. Their war leaders swore vengeance, promising to crush the Valari in whatever Deathworld dared to stand with them. They gathered more ships, more soldiers, more weapons, and messages to every corner of their space. Earth would burn, and the Valari would vanish. But they had already made their worst mistake. They had given Earth a reason to fight. Commander Hale knew this would happen. He had seen the pattern before one victory, leading to 10 new battles. As the Valari repaired their damaged ships, Earth sent more support. Dozens of new vessels arrived, carrying fresh troops, weapons, and strange technologies even the Valari didn't understand. The station orbiting the Valari homeworld expanded into a full military hub, surrounded by defense platforms and orbital mines. Valari scientists worked alongside human engineers, blending their knowledge into something new. Ships were no longer just human or Valari. They were hybrids, faster, smarter, deadlier. Hale began sending out scouting units, led by humans, but joined by trained Valari crews. Their mission was to track Grask movements, disrupt their supply lines, and warn nearby systems. Some of those systems were already under threat. On the forest world of Eleanor, where Tree City stood tall among the clouds, the Grask had begun an invasion. Earth responded without hesitation. Klee warships, including the Endbringer, jumped in. The battle was short but brutal. Human drop. Teams landed with Valari medics and drone support. K fought through fire and smoke, saving what they could. For the first time, another race saw humans not as monsters, but as protectors. Word spread fast. More worlds reached out. Small messages at first, questions, quiet thanks, cautious requests for help. Then came calls for alliance. Races that had once ignored Earth now begged for its guidance. L didn't promise protection. He offered something else, training. You want to live? He told them. Then fight with us. All across the region, Earth began building something far greater than a single victory. They were forming a network of growing resistance against the Grask. Outposts were fortified. Supply routes were guarded. Old enemies became new allies. Even mercenaries, once hired by the Grask, began switching sides. They had seen what happened to those who stood against Earth's fury. Meanwhile, the Grask grew desperate. Their leadership, used to easy conquest, was now divided. Some wanted to strike Earth directly. Others feared it. Some even believed the stories about Earth being cursed, that its people were made by war itself. But while they argued, Earth moved. Their fleets struck hidden Grask bases, hacked into communication arrays, and destroyed fuel convoys. And always, beside them, the Valari stood ready, no longer students, but warriors. Seren led more missions now, commanding squadrons across multiple systems. She had earned the respect of human captains and Valari generals alike. Her name was spoken with pride and hope. She was living proof that Earth's fire could light even the quietest soul. Still, Hale never let his people forget what was coming. The Grask will not stop, he reminded them. And neither will we. Each battle brought more danger. Ships were lost. Friends died. But something stronger was being born, a united force, shaped by a Deathworld and fueled by courage. War had spread like fire. Yes, but now that fire burned in more hearts than ever before. The stars were quiet above the Valari homeworld, but everyone knew the silence was only temporary. Deep in space, far beyond the known charts, the Grask were building something massive. Rumors spoke of a war fleet like none before, a final blow, meant to crush the growing alliance of Earth, Valari, and other awakened races. Commander Hale stood alone in the observation chamber, watching the stars. His face lit by the soft glow of defense grids and incoming data feeds. Around him, the station pulsed with quiet activity: engineers testing new shields, officers training recruits, pilots checking their ships. Everything was moving. Everything was growing. The alliance had changed since the first battle. It was no longer about saving one world. It was about standing together. Dozens of systems had joined them now, each sending what they could. Ships, supplies, soldiers, or simply knowledge. Earth's influence had spread, not through conquest, but through inspiration. Hale had seen it before, how war shaped people. how fire forged strength, but he had never seen so many different kinds of beings fight as one. Still, he knew the worst was yet to come. The final battle would decide everything. Reports confirmed. The Grask fleet was nearly ready, thousands of ships, some the size of cities, others designed to carry horrors the galaxy had never seen. If it reached the Valari system, millions would die. Earth would not let that happen. Secret, deep, within an old asteroid field, humans had been working on their answer. A project known only as Iron Sky. The Valari knew nothing about it, not even Serene, who had become one of the most respected leaders in the Alliance. But now, with time running out, the veil was lifted. Hell summoned the Allied Council and revealed the truth. Iron Sky, he said, is not a weapon, it's a promise. A giant screen lit up, showing the dark shape of a new kind of ship larger than anything Earth had ever built. A mobile fortress with armor made from collapsed neutron cores and weapons that could break moons. Cool, but the ship was more than metal. It was powered by a human Valari fusion core, guided by AI born from both logic and instinct, and crewed by a mixed team of humans and aliens trained together. This ship was not just Earth's, it was everyone's. It was the future. The council was silent, stunned by the scale of what they saw. Then Saren stepped forward. "What do we call it?" she asked. Hale looked at her. "We call it Unity." And so, the final battle plan was drawn. Earth's fleet would meet the Grask head-on, holding the line as long as they could. Meanwhile, Unity would jump behind enemy lines, strike at the command core, and tear the heart out of the invasion. It was risky. Many might not return, but they had no choice. War was at their doorstep. When the Grask fleet finally arrived, the sky went dark with metal. The invasion began with silence, no words, no warning, just weapons firing, missiles falling, ships burning. Earth's warships met them with unmatched fury. The Valari fought beside them, fearless now. Serene led her squadron into the thick of it, weaving through fire, destroying ships 3 times their size. The battle shook the stars. Then Unity entered. It came from hyperspace like a fallen god, silent and cold, its weapons glowing blue as it drove straight into the Grask heart. No ship could stop it. Unity tore through enemy lines, its cannons cracking open battleships, its shields holding against waves of attack. Inside, humans and aliens fought side by side, moving like one body. Commander Hale stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the Grask command vessel. "Fire," he said. One final strike lean, bright, unstoppable. The Grask flagship exploded, and with it, their command fell apart. The rest of the fleet broke, scattered, retreated. The war was over. Victory was not easy. Many lives were lost. Ships were gone. Stars were scarred. But Earth's promise had been kept. They had answered the call. They had brought not just a fleet, but hope. And now, every world that had once feared the Deathworlders looked to Earth, not with fear, but with faith. For in the fire of war, a new alliance had been born, and its heart would forever carry the promise of a Deathworld that never backed down.